Hey guys, what's up? Fur Daddy here. Today I'm coming at you with another video. I know it's been a long time, but trust me, this one is going to be useful. Before I get into the video, I just want to address the fact that I haven't uploaded anything in like 2 months. More or less, I respect your guys' time, and I respect if I don't have any video ideas, I'm not going to make one. If people have suggestions for videos, I'll definitely make them, but there just wasn't really a lot of content. That being said, I am really excited for 6.2, and I have tons of stuff planned for that. I'm really hoping the Island Sanctuary is fun, and yeah, I have a whole series planned about that. It's going to be great. So let's get into the video. So before I get into the specific prep that I did, because to be honest, I haven't really been playing that much since 6.1, and I did a lot of prep like last minute, so if that's you, then you're really going to benefit from this video a lot, I think. I'm just going to go over sort of like a bullet point list of changes that are coming in 6.2 as far as DOH, DOL stuff is concerned. Obviously, all the other stuff is on the patch notes, but they don't lay this stuff out as clearly. So I just want you guys to know the stuff I'm going to be covering. So in 6.2, there's going to be no Disciple of the Hand or Disciple of the Land upgrades. So you won't need any new gear, meaning the gear that you have now, the Pactmaker and the accessories from 6.1 are going to carry you all the way to 6.3. So that's good news for your melds. You can still have the same melds from 6.1. There will be new raid gear. I mean, that is in the patch notes, but that's relevant if you're crafting. I know that last patch was a bit of a disaster when it came to the economy, and I kind of have like two theories about it. I think that either it'll do the same thing again, which would make sense, or like everybody who's into crafting is like so burnt out from the grind on 6.1 that it's going to be really expensive again. So, you know, I'm keeping those both in mind when I'm prepping. There will be Master Book 10s will be coming out for the crafters. There won't be any new books for gatherers. The other thing to note is there will be entirely new nodes to gather from. So that's very relevant for crafting recipes, and I will break down what goes into a recipe a little bit later into the video. There will most likely not be any new Aether Sands. So the Aether Sands you're going to be using now a lot. That's why the End-Tide Aether Sand is so expensive, because that's what's used in the 0.2 recipes. And there will also be new combat food and new tinctures. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I just hope these can kind of give you an idea of what classes you want to gear, because I know if you don't have a lot of money, you might not want to pentameld like every single tool set. So yeah. With that in mind, let's get into the actual prep that I did over this I just did it all yesterday, actually. So this is all stuff you can do in one day. You still have plenty of time to do it, and let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing that I recommend you do is clean out your inventory. I know that not everybody's going to listen to this, but if there's any time you actually clean out your inventory, this is probably the patch to do it. You're going to be getting a ton of stuff from the new Island Sanctuary. You're going to be getting tons of new items in general. I think it's very important for you to be cleaning out your inventory for that. So yeah, make sure you have all your ducks in a row. I have like, look, I didn't clean out my whole inventory, I'm going to be honest, but I cleaned out like half of it, and that's as best as I'm going to do. So clean out your inventory, make sure you're ready for all the new items, especially the new crafting items. You're going to be gathering a ton of new stuff. Keep your other crafting items from previous patches in your retainer, sure, but don't, you know, have a clean slate going into this patch. They're adding a lot of new content, and it's a good idea to do that. Okay, so once you've cleaned out your inventory, the next thing I did was make my crafting and gathering gear. I actually bought mine off the market board because I work a day job now and I couldn't be asked. But I will be including macros in the description for Arcean gear to be able to make the Pactmaker gear. So as long as you're melded, you should have no problem making that gear, and I'll include that in the description. So I'll include that for the crafting and the gathering gear, but yeah, the next thing I did was get my greasy little mitts on the Pactmaker tools and the Pactmaker left side. I said this earlier, but in case you missed it, the right side is the same, so that should be fine. You should be all taken care of in regards to that. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do after you get your hands on your gear is you're going to want to meld it. So look, this is going to be expensive. I'm not gonna mince words, especially if you're leaving it till last minute like I did. I was horrified to find the prices of everything. it was awful. So you can obviously utilize tools like Universalis and the FFXIV market board analysis website that I partnered with. There's also a link in the description for that. You can use all these to try to find the best items to buy. Definitely do that. Definitely hop servers and do the arbitrage to get your best items. You really don't want to be spending like 18,000 per materia 9 like I'm doing, because you're gonna go through a lot. I pentamelded all my gear with best melds, but in the description I've posted mid ones that should be good for this patch, high tier ones, and then super high tier ones. And so I did the kind of middle of the road one, but I had really high tier rings and stuff. But don't worry about what you meld as long as you follow one of those, because I will be utilizing the lowest tier 1 for any macros that I theory craft and post in my Discord server, which is a reminder to join that server, because I'll be posting macros for 6.2 before I post them on YouTube. So yeah, I mean, this is also a good time to mention that if you've been doing your deliveries, you probably have a supply of materia. So this is a good time to meld your gear. I'm sure if you've been doing that, you're probably already melded. But if you're not, and if not, put it on the market board, because this shit is super expensive right now. Okay, so this is a lot of the same. Just making your gathering gear this time. You can use your Pactmaker gear. I'm not going to utilize that in the macro in case there are people watching this video who are more into the gathering and making money that way. So I'll still be finding and using a macro that uses the Arcean gear, but I just decided to include this as a separate thing because, yeah, it's going to be a lot easier to make gear because your stats are going to be really high. So you can go ahead and make your gathering gear. I have the macro for that, and you're going to want to meld that as well. Now, gathering gear, the idea behind melding it, I've covered this in previous videos, but I'll say it here, is about hitting breakpoints. So there's a certain level you want to get to get a bonus yield and to be able to harvest something in the first place. So perception is the stat that's used to actually identify the item, but then everything else, gathering and gathering points, are just used to increase your yield of the item. So if you want high yield items, you're going to want a lot of points into gathering. That's the general theory. And then you're going to want high enough perception to be able to actually see the items. So yeah, gathering gear, that's it. Very simple. Moving on. So once you have your gear already, something to remember is there's going to be a new master book. So you're going to want to decide on a script item, a white script item to buy, or to craft rather, a collectible for you to turn in. And you just want to hold that stuff either in your retainer or your inventory. So I'm making rarefied integral armalays. There are other options. I just found that I had a lot of Arcean velvet and integral lumber. But if you go into your collectibles and you go and you look at your level 89 rarefied options, those are the items you can make. So depending on what job you have as a specialist or whatever, just whatever. So this time, if you're following my video, the macro that I'm going to give is a 1-button macro that you can use to make these items if you use this Pactmaker meld that I have. So you should be more than fine. Yeah, I'm going to include that macro just in the description. It's not going to be a link to anything. So yeah, make all these. I don't know how many you want to make, 1200 times 8 or however many jobs there are. I'm personally just filling up my inventory, and then I'm holding on to a bunch of the extra materials in case I don't have enough, because all of my retainers are full because I didn't clean them out like you should have earlier in the video. So yeah. Make all those and have those ready, and that is one of the last things I did for prep. Alright, so as promised, we're going to go through a recipe here, and I'm going to go through all of the items in it, and we're going to find out what we can do. So I'm going to show you how to do this as well. This just is sort of a holistic tool that gives you some idea of the kind of stuff you're going to be doing. So for instance here, if we look at the Purpuree bead, we can see that it is crafted with the Purpuree, the Potpourri shell chip, which is gathered in the Tempest, which is an expert gathering item. This would be one of the new ones that's added in 6.2. And then the workbench resin, which is a tome or script item. You'd have to check on that. And so if we move on, the sea swallow leather, we can see that this is obviously crafted. And it's crafted with sea swallow skin and yellow alumine. Yellow alumine, of course, is gathered from Twitch. And sea swallow skin you're going to be able to get as a gemstone item, and I'll cover that in a moment. So, moving on, we have the alkahest. Alkahests are made with the sublime solution, which is, in this expansion, is the immutable solution. Sorry about that. And moving on, we can just take a look and see the immutable fern. Now, some of these that I don't have the regional folklore books for won't show up, but you harvest the imperial fern in the right gerbera, and the aether sand, and you use it to craft this. Now, you can go through every item and base it off that. I think that the primary takeaway should be that there are new items. I don't think you need to be hoarding as much for this unless if it's aether sand. I think you'll be fine. Your main priority is going to be getting your gathering gear ready for you to be able to actually make the to gather the new items from the nodes. I think that's the most important thing to have, and of course to have the crafting gear able to make the intermediates. Once you have all that ready, in my opinion, you're prepped. Before I go into any warnings that I have for this, we're gonna just move on to the last bit of prep that I suggest. So, there's a few other things you can do. You notice I mentioned the bicolor gemstones with the leather. I think it's not a bad idea to cap out your gemstones if you guys have time to do that. Just to be able to buy any of the leathers or any of those weird materials that might be coming out or might be reutilized from there, because you'll see a big spike. Now, of course, any item, like if you need to get ambrosial water or whatever, you can go and just harvest it, but it's not so easy with leather. So I suggest capping out on your gemstones. And of course, I suggest capping out on your capped and uncapped tomes. That's always going to be a good idea. They're introducing new tomes, but you'll be able to use these tomes for buying some of the crafting items. So that's all of the prep. I just want to talk about some stuff that I'm going to caution you against. I'm going to caution against hoarding for the purposes of dumping items onto the market board. I've already seen a couple of videos of people suggesting that. I don't think that's a good idea. Just learning from experience of what happened last time. I think we'll see the crazy spike of items in hour 1 or hour 2, which is the demand that's generated by the crafters themselves who inadequately prepped. And then we're going to see it drop immensely, just like what happened before. I do think that the gear will be at a healthier price, just because there's less people overall that are going to be crafting, but I still think that it's not going to be a good idea to try to make 50 mil by just tossing everything into the market board. I don't really think that's the play. I think it's a low, slow burn that you're going to want to be looking for. I saw by now all the crafting and gathering gear was 200k a piece. So there's definitely money to be made in crafting still, and I will be covering that with my videos. So yeah, that's all she wrote. Let's get into the outro of the video. Alright guys, so this is the outro of the video. You guys know this is where we powwow and chat a little bit, and my watch time engagement goes way down. But I just wanted to talk about the fact that I hadn't uploaded in a while. I feel bad for not uploading, kind of, but at the same time, there wasn't really anything to make videos on. So I'm torn, right? Because if there isn't content to make videos on, I don't really want to make it and force you guys to watch it. I've been playing a lot of RuneScape and stuff as well, so I didn't really play Final Fantasy to find that content, but at the same time, I do feel really excited for 6.2 with this break, and I will be making a lot of videos there, but I can't guarantee there won't be another similar break in between 6.2 and 6.3. And of course, the amount of content that I am going to make, because I want to focus on the Island Sanctuary and stuff like that, that comes down to how good that content is. So that's something that's a little difficult. I'll obviously make guides for all that stuff, but as far as freeform content, which I want to get into, that depends on how engaging that content actually is to watch and stuff like that. So yeah, so I want to remind you guys to join my Discord server, just to get any sort of updates on the new macros that are posted and everything like that. You're going to want to join that. That's in the description. Yeah, other than that, subscribe. Thank you guys for holding out for me, and I'll be making tons of videos in 6.2. And yeah, I appreciate every single one of you. Bye-bye.